Well, thank you for taking the time to talk. It's always fun to talk to you. How challenging was it to place Doom, Victor Von Doom, in this more realistic version of the Fantastic Four?
The difficulty for me was trying to get the voice just right, because my own voice is terrible. So I wanted to make a voice. I wanted to make a voice that was just, because you meet those people. You're an American, and so you meet someone, and they sound.
No, I'm not.
You're not American.
No, I am.
Where are you from? America.
Right here.
From the Four Seasons. That's fantastic. Free advertising. So you meet someone and you're like, where's your voice from? And they're like, oh, I'm South Africa, but I've lived here for 26 years. And so, or I'm English. I meet a lot of English people and I'm like, oh, really, you're English? And they're like, yeah, I've been here a long time. I came here when I was 7 or something like that. So I wanted that element. I wanted that, the place he's from, Doom's from Latveria. So what I wanted was that Eastern Bloc kind of feel, and I was lucky enough to work with a fantastic dialect coach, Michael Buster. So we had a Hungarian and Lithuanian on tape, and we were listening to them, and Werner Herzog. We were listening to various different things to try and hone in that European influence and then give it the American twang, because he's been over here a long time studying under Dr. Storm.
Right, yeah. And which we get from the sort of explain.
Yeah.
But in that we do see paperwork or something where it says that you're from Latveria? Is that how you say it?
Latveria, yeah.
So, which I should know because I've been reading the comics since I was a kid.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the thing, when you're a kid and you're reading a word that doesn't exist, you're like, Latveria?
Right.
What? Oh, so he's from Latveria, and it's not until your friend goes, he's not from there. I'm sorry,
Right,
dude.
I'm going to
I didn't
out-geek
know
you on
a
this one.
made-up word. Yeah. So sorry.
But so did you? So we know that you're from there in the film.
Yeah.
Did you build a backstory about how he wound up over here with Dr. Storm?
I mean, that's, the lucky thing is the amount of information you have from the Fantastic Four comics. It's, Miles said at Comic-Con, he was like, it's like studying an historical character. And it's kind of true, it was actually a very articulate thing to say, because there's a lot of information out there, and they go in wild different directions. So really who he is at his core, with his arrogance, that was important to play. But the backstory I played was the backstory he has, which is his mother made a deal. She's a gypsy, Romany gypsy, who made these terrible deals, ends up in hell, another dimension in hell, and his father dies protecting him, dies from exposure. That kind of burden. Did I play that throughout the character? I tried to play issued, somebody with issues. It's someone who has a burdened past. Has been told he's a genius, but every time he comes up with something, it's blocked, and there's political elements, and it's all these difficult things. So they were all available in the script. They hopefully portray in the movie, but it's never really that important when you've got so much factual documentation, in the sense of it's been written,
right,
and therefore it becomes fact. It's nice. You feel very supported.
Sure.
It's a good way to go about it.
How would you his relationship with Reed is always a big part of the comic. How would you describe this version of Reed and Victor?
I mean, it's when you get on with someone as an actor, you're then battling. Oh, now we've got to play enemies, and I don't think it's that drastically important to be enemies yet. We were finding the beginning, and so I feel like an origin story that already tells you who they're going to be in 50 episodes down the line is not interesting. So we tried to play it that we were just people at a thing in a situation, and what becomes Doom and what becomes Mr. Fantastic will develop, rather than this is who they are and this is who they'll be.
Sure.
The boxes are not interesting to watch, and they're not real for us as people.
Yeah, sure.
So they're not relatable.
Right. In terms of going from Victor to Doom, without giving anything away, that you're sort of affected by the accident that gives the Fantastic Four their powers. It seems as though, unlike most of the Fantastic Four, Victor actually likes what happens to him.
Yeah, definitely so. I mean, Josh had a lovely idea, right from the beginning. He was like, what if they're forced? What if this is a forced thing they have to learn how to deal with? More of a disability. Constantly igniting might not be the funnest thing on earth.
Right.
So it was more that there was a learning curve about their abilities, whereas Doom, I think right from the beginning what we were talking about is there's a divine right to what he does. He believes he was always destined to be this thing, this person. And, in a sense, conjures himself.
Yeah, sure. How far can it go in the future if there was another Fantastic Four movie? Doom is so important to the Fantastic Four. In terms of comic book villains, I feel like Doom and the Fantastic Four are so intertwined. Can you start to go into the more comic booky side of things, like him living in a castle and all that stuff?
Yeah, fingers crossed. I mean, he goes back to Latveria, he becomes the king of Latveria.
Right.
He gives himself a doctorate. This is the arrogance of Doctor Doom. Oh, I'd like a doctorate, please. I'd like to be Doctor Doom. So, yes, I mean, there's eons of information for us to go into, and I think that's what's so exciting for the studio, to look at the prospects of what could be.
Yeah.
And I'd be privileged, it'd be an honor to be involved with it. But,
Sure.
yeah.
Now, you played Koba last summer in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, which is such a great movie and such a great
Thank
character.
you. Very kind.
Do you see any similarities between Koba and Doom?
Yeah, I mean, being that they're a bad guy, and what I tried to do, and perhaps it's becoming samey, but what I tried to do again was, rather than, Koba's very damaged. It's definitely very clear why he's so aggressive. And it's very much an aggressive thing with Koba, whereas Doom's trying to use his intelligence as much as possible. His physical prowess is, no one can doubt it. It's in the comics. In this movie, it's more important for me to have a journey of making decisions that have put me as the bad guy.
Right.
People not agreeing, people not... And being slightly... I've used the word a lot today, but being slightly obtuse about how he feels about a situation, which is turning him into a villain, whereas Koba really is just... feels misunderstood. He feels like no one's listening.
Yeah.
And so it's a different journey, but it's that similar thing where it's just decisions that turn you into a bad guy.
Will we see Koba again?
If there is a God.
Fair answer. I think my last question for you will be a Twitter question from one of our readers. This is from Lewis. He was wondering, who was your favorite superhero and supervillain growing up, if you had one?
Yeah, when I was little, I mean, I used to wash my hands in hot water and be like, Superman can take this. Because I'm stupid. But Batman was always my favorite superhero because he'd chosen it. It was such a decision of his life.
Yeah.
And thus the Joker was my favorite.
Of course,
supervillain, because he was ruthless, he was cold-blooded. But really, when you go back to it, Doom was the only reason to read the Fantastic Four comics when I was a kid. Is how I feel. It's just my opinion.
So it worked out for you in that case,
out in
didn't
the
it?
end. Yeah, I was like, the best role. You'd like me to play the best role? Yeah, of course, yeah. I'm free.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time today.
Pleasure.